was invited to Apple to meet with the head of strategy for retail, based out of Cupertino. And they made an appointment to meet with us. And when I walked into the appointment, he said to me, you know, over the years, your name keeps popping up. And I was flattered. He said, you guys have done some great things. I mean, here was a guy who's the head of retail for Apple Australia that came to Australia to meet with me. And he actually came and he brought this slide. He said, this was a slide I actually created 3 years ago to present at XeroCon to address developers. And it was a slide to basically show the current state of play in terms of integration and how interconnected all the different pieces of software are to run a retail or wholesale business. And he said to me, you know, we use this slide at Apple every day. We show our programmers this slide every day because this is what retail is today. And it's still relevant to this day. And I was extremely flattered, and it made me think about my experience and my relationship with Apple over the years, because I remember coming back on the plane ride back from Canada, and I went into Japan and I met this guy in the bar, and he happened to work for Apple here in Australia. And we got to talking, and I said, you know, I really don't know what I'm coming home to in Bali. You know, there was just a bombing there, and we're keeping our options open. He said, you know, we're always looking for people like yourself, people that are worldly, people that have, you know, some retail experience. You should apply. I took a chance, I took a risk, and I moved to Australia, and there was no Apple stores at that time. There was only the Black Shirts and the David Jones and the Myers, and there were no jobs available, so I went to go apply for a premium reseller that was on Bronte Road in Bondi Junction. And in 2008, when the Apple iPhone came to Australia, it was a monumental event. We did the launch, and it was also the same time that the actual Bondi store opened up. I remember, you know, it was a time where we had to really think about our business and would it exist, you know, going against Apple, and how were we going to innovate, and how were we going to change. I had an actual offer to go down the path, this corporate path of working for Apple. I actually applied for Apple, and I got a job offer as the business leader for the Chatswood store, or I could go down another path, which was start my own business, and start my own business as a consultant, right? You know, at the time working in that reseller, we were setting up point-of-sale systems for retail shops. We used a product called Lightspeed. It was a Mac-looking point-of-sale. You know, that was where the first sort of shift towards being a business consultant started. And so when I look back and I think about that risk, you know, like I could have taken that path of going the corporate route. I mean, I moved to Australia to work for Apple, and all of a sudden I was going to get this fantastic role. I took the harder route. And the reason why I took the harder route is because I wanted the challenge. I knew what that career path with Apple was going to take me. It was a pretty linear path, and the other path was, albeit tougher, was a lot more exciting to me. You know, what gave me the courage to take that risk? Well, you know, it's really living a life of taking risks and being comfortable with having risks and knowing that taking a big risk is going to reap a big reward. And in 2011, when we started SMB, we were predominantly a hardware company. And in 2012, when the cloud started to become more accessible to consumers, we started to evolve and we became part of the Consultants Network. And at the time, the Consultants Network didn't even recognize our skill set. It was predominantly server-based. And we got the Consultants Network to redefine a new category of consultant called mobility expert. 2013 is where Xero started to emerge, the accounting package, and we started to understand the relationship between the accounting package and the point of sale, and how this could make businesses more efficient. It was a meeting with the managing director of Xero in 2013 where he listened to what we were doing for businesses, and he coined the term. He said, you guys are cloud integrators. And it was at that meeting in 2013 where a cloud integrator was actually born. In 2014, we drew the attention of Apple again, and we took the story on the road in relation to Telstra, because Telstra themselves were under enormous pressure to evolve. You see, they were a business that was driven predominantly by selling hardware and selling data. And if they didn't evolve, they themselves would be in jeopardy of having a very shrinking business. So Apple took our story of this retail connected solution, having Vend as a point of sale and Deputy as staff rostering and Xero as the accounting package, and we took this story on the road with Telstra. 2015, the idea of cloud integration continued to evolve. Ecosystem of apps for Xero grew from what started as 150, now it's over 550 apps. And the depth of the integrations continue to evolve, as you saw in the previous slide. We became Xero Gold partners, and it forced the hand of Xero to identify us as a different class of integrator, because they as well said, we can't have you guys as Gold partners because that'll create channel conflict. All the accountants and bookkeepers out there will think that you're their competitors. And in 2016, we had a ripple effect. The stories that we were doing with Telstra had a ripple effect all the way to Cupertino. So much to the effect that Apple created a worldwide program called the MPP program, which is the Mobility Partner Program. And what that is it's basically a worldwide program that curates all the best-in-class business applications, and Apple basically endorsed them. They invite these software companies to come in, use their labs to make their products best in class. We're one of only 2 systems integrators worldwide that belong to this program and are actually advisors to Apple. That's pretty cool, to know that what we started doing back in 2014 had this ripple effect. And in 2017, we built a partner program for bookkeepers and accountants to be able to find us more easily, because in the end, we're helping their customers find these type of solutions. We were a new breed that no one else really knew about. So when I look back at what I've accomplished and I look at my job, these are the things that I think are pretty cool about it. I'm good at what I do. I mean, you're not going to be passionate about something you're not very good at. I can help people find new technology. It changes constantly, so it's constantly challenging me. Innovation motivates me. It's what drives me to create new stories. If you were to find a career or a job that could tick off all of these boxes, put up your hand if you would be very happy with that. What I want you to know is that this is what defines passion. This is what defines what you should be looking for in life. It's not money, it's not prestige, it's not a title, it's these things. The next question I want to ask you is, what do you want to be? Keep your hands up if you know what you want to be in life. Okay, so there are a good number of people out there that do know what they want to do in their life, and you know what? Good on you, I commend you. Work hard at it and do it, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. So for all of you that put your hands down, that was me. I didn't know, right? And that's okay. And the next question people always ask you when you say, well, what do you want to be, and you don't know? They ask you this question, don't they? What are you passionate about? And you're like, oh God, passion. I don't know, right? Who knows what they're passionate about, right? And furthermore, if you're passionate about something, how can you turn that into a career, right? It's an enormous amount of pressure that you have on you as you're going through high school. So, when I looked at who is the best person to ask about what they want to be, I looked to my daughter, my 5-year-old daughter. And I asked her, I said, Akira, darling, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, well, I want to be in the circus, and I want to be a physiotherapist because I want to help people when they get injured. I said, that's amazing, Akira. You can be whatever you... She said, no, I want to be a teacher too, right? I said, yeah, you can be a teacher. I said, you can be whatever it is you want to be. You just have to work hard at it, right? And she said, yeah, and Dad, I want to be an Uber driver too. I said, you can be an Uber driver. And I thought, why is it that kids can answer this question really, really easily, but yet as we grow up, it just becomes more and more difficult, and the weight of the world is on your shoulders trying to figure out, what do I want to be? And the reason is because when you ask yourself this question, you're scared. You're scared that you're going to commit to some decision that puts you on the wrong path of life that's going to end up somewhere that you don't want to be. And so, when you think about playing chess, chess is a game with a certain number of pawns, a certain number of squares, and certain rules, right? And the whole object of chess is to actually think about a strategy. You're thinking steps ahead to actually win the game. The goal is to win the game, to capture the king, right? But what happens after the game finishes, right? Life isn't about winning the game. And so sometimes you think about playing chess and you forget about that next step, and somebody takes one of your pieces because you're thinking too far ahead. Kids just think about the moment. They think about what they love, what they are inspired, what they want to do. You don't plan your life and live it, you create it by living it. When I look at my life, I certainly didn't know what I wanted to do at that age, I never knew, but I can attribute a trip back to Japan with my love for innovation and technology. I remember going to Japan very distinctly and walking through that toy shop. And over the years, I had a very decorated life. I took a lot of risks in my life. and risks that paid off. In '91, when I graduated, I left high school and I didn't go to university because I just was not that type of person that really catered to that traditional style of learning. I learned later in life. I was very good at public speaking. I was good with my hands. I could self-teach myself, but I just wasn't the type of person to learn traditionally. You know, I had a very decorated life of experiences, and I use this slide because what it shows is innovation and how innovation really drives technology. You know, in '96 is when the actual Palm Pilot was released. It was the first piece of hardware that sort of drove the way technology put data into a personal device. I actually brought with me today my Sony Clie from 2002, which was the first device that actually, yeah, exactly, cool, huh? Flips around. It combined a memory stick with movies, with pictures, and it was, you know, bringing together mobile entertainment. But the point of the slide was that in 2008, it says, know your past, know our past, create the future. Well, what happened to Nokia, right? In 2008, they owned 50% of the market share, and they're virtually non-existent. And what they failed to do is they failed to realize that they built their business based on hardware, and what Apple and Android did is they built their business based on hardware, software, and operating system, and combining media, right? Being able to sell on iTunes and the App Store. And so it was a real lesson to myself that innovation, you have to be on top of innovation because to survive, you must innovate. And it really was the driving factor behind how my business was born because the factors, the iPhone, gave me the hardware. It was this shift towards this device into the iPhone, which is this mobile connected device, connected through the internet, storing data in the cloud, which actually gave birth to my business, which was in integration. Here it is, the big question. How do you find your passion then, right? That's the question that all of you here are dying to know the answer to. And the answer is, well, you're not going to find it by searching the internet, and it's not automatically going to be one of those pop-ups that says, you are going to be X, right? It's just not going to happen. Passion is a feeling that you get when you create things, when you are challenged, when you accomplish things, when you take risks, when you contribute. It's a feeling that you create by doing. You have to feel comfortable in not knowing. You have to find excitement to know that everything you do, every experience that you have in life is writing a chapter in your story. And there's going to be chapters that are good and happy and sad and difficult, but all of that makes for a good story. Because what story out there would be interesting if you already knew what the end was?